Hey Gav. So my topic was around the idea that exercise adherence in the elderly is a major issue and how to improve this. I definitely agree with this statement that exercise adherence is very low compared to other population age groups. So just a little bit of background information on the subject. The Australian Bureau of Statistics define the elderly age gap between being the age of 65 years and over. Within this age group, men and women combined, we can see a significant decrease of physical activity levels, which all in all is a major health issue, not only for the individual, but the burden it is placing on our healthcare systems. Participation in regular physical activity is being recognised as one of the most important health behaviours associated with the prevention of chronic diseases and illness, and the promotion of health and physical well-being among the elderly. However, still we see a substantial proportion of elderly people still remaining inactive. That graph on the right hand side is just a good representation of all the different population groups, and it can clearly outline sitting, vigorous activities, which is in the red, and we can see that is decreased within the elderly. From here, research has found that physical activity decreases with age, but this research is very broad and generalised because in some cases the elderly could be peaking with their physical activity due to being in retirement and having that time to be socially engaged with their sport or physical activity. For instance, golf every week, tennis clubs, walking groups, everything like that. The World Health Organization defines physical activity as any bodily movement produced by any skeletal muscle which has an occurrence of energy expenditure. This can include activities like running, jumping, all your different sports, or it could be basic as simple gardening, household chores, etc. The Australian Bureau of Statistics 2018 state that just over a quarter, so 26.1%, of older adults aged over 65 years and older engage in 30 minutes of exercise on 5 or more days in a 7-day period. Studies indicate that physical activity such as walking has increased in preference, but most vigorous exercises like swimming, running, and cycling decreases, and this could be associated with the myths around physical activity in the elderly. More expansion on these myths, they've been around the idea that the elderly population should limit their participation in physical activity, which is completely misleading. These myths are very hazardous because they cause misleading communication, and these myths are associated with the idea that it's hazardous for the elderly to participate in physical activity because they're frail and weak, which puts them at a more high risk of falls and breaks. This in fact is untrue. More regular physical activity within the elderly population can improve blood pressure, diabetes, osteoporosis, strength within joints and muscles, decreased rates of mortality and age-related morbidity, and it can also help with neurochronical functions and hinder the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia for a few years. So there are many different reasons in why exercise adherence rates are low within the elderly population, and a few are listed here on the slide. So economic valuable, so not having the money, they're obviously could be retired and they're not having a steady income that they usually got. Cognitive beliefs, so they're not grown up doing much physical activity and they don't have the desire to start now. And also with the certain myths around the topic, this is misleading towards those cognitive beliefs as well. Motivation levels, so these may be low and they might find it hard to stick to making time in their day to exercise if they don't do it regularly. External support, so may not have any guidance from family or friends, so they don't really know how to start or how to approach it. Socio-demographic variabilities, so where and what part of town they live in, has a huge impact on physical activity levels. For instance, if they live in a bad part of town, they're more likely to not do any physical activity like walking because they might not feel safe. Expectations of fear and injury. They don't know certain physical activity levels they can go to, so they always have that fear in the back of their mind, which scares them too much to actually undertake any physical activity. Previous exercise experiences. So this is a big one. So no prior knowledge or exercise may hinder the start exercising. Studies have shown that elderly women who grew up in a traditional background may never have acquired the experience of regular exercise, and therefore little prior exercise skills or knowledge, which makes it harder to adopt. Transport barriers. So some elderly people not have a license anymore, so they rely heavily on public transport or their family and friends. Self-efficiency, so not making time in their day, or not having enough time in their day. Knowledge of exercise, so if they don't have that prior knowledge, then they might feel like they don't know what they're doing or they're doing it wrong. And access and ability to have exercise equipment. So not having the facilities available to them might have a negative impact on their physical activity. Some ways how we can increase exercise adherence within the elderly community would be by the use of education in a clear and concise manner, which is straight to the point. So no misleading facts, and more awareness and clear information on the recommended guidelines associated within the elderly population. So the Bureau of Statistics Australia 2018 states that individuals aged 65 years and over are recommended to participate in a minimum of 30 minutes of physical activity per day and up to 5 days during a week. A multi-component of aerobic and strengthening exercises should be included, with also the inclusion of diverse range of balance and strength training, for example, yoga. So not just doing a daily walk, but still incorporating the free weighted exercises and strength exercises, and this is where we can see the most health benefits in the individual. Furthermore, from the previous slides, more promotion is needed around the health benefits associated around physical activity. With this, more knowledge should be placed in regards to the hindering of many chronic diseases that are associated with old age, so dementia, heart conditions, osteoporosis, and etc. With the use of television ads in the local paper, science and health practitioners, which all clearly display and promote the physical activity guidelines and benefits, should be displayed and presented. The elderly population rarely participate and partake in social media or technology use. So taking the approach of visual signs and verbal communication within health practices is still getting the points across, but in a way that they're able to be clearly communicated about. GPs and doctors should be enhancing and offering clear and accurate advice around these physical health guidelines. The elderly in general demonstrate great respect for practitioners because they value and they have the developed mindset that they hold high authority, which subsequently are greatly influenced by their advice, and this can even be a catalyst in the behaviour change within the elderly population group. Further from the last slides, more promotion and emphasis should be used on the use of doctors' referrals to exercise physiologists and personal trainers in relation to exercise prescription. This way, if the individual is hesitant about starting any physical activity or exercise programs at all, we have a trainer there the whole time monitoring, evaluating and assessing the individual during the program. Before the program has been developed, PARCU forms are filled out just so we can get a bit of a background information of previous exercise experiences, levels of physical activity they have done before, or any levels of illness or injury that they have acquired or still have. We can see that motivation to exercise can be improved by training a certain area that they struggle with or has been injured before. So, for instance, if they have a shoulder injury, they're more likely to adhere to the program because they want to get better. Personal trainers and exercise physiologists can develop exercise programs and prescriptions best suited to that individual. So we know that exercise is not one fit is best for everyone. We make these programs by the frequency, the time, the type of exercises that they like to do, because we want to not make the exercise program more like a chore, but to incorporate in their daily living. And in this way, it builds confidence levels within the gym or around the community. And by this, trainers will have them conduct the exercises for about a couple of weeks, just so we know that they're confident in doing the exercises. And from here, they can either take it to their home and do it then. But I think it's very important to do weekly check-ins, just so that keeps them more accountable to be able to be doing them. And it still shows that still that rapport and that relationship with the trainer in relation to their physical activity levels. And giving the individual the option, so if they would like to check in via face-to-face or via Zoom or via just over the phone, so making it more incorporated around them, what best suits them. From this, it is estimated that 50% of people will drop out of their attempted exercise routine within the first 6 to 12 months of initiation. So this is why we have the interactive, fun and enjoyable program, and this is why it is key. Another point would be by getting the gyms to create weekly over 50 classes with subsidised fees, which promotes healthy daily living at no expense. These classes will be held for no more than 1 hour, due to studies being showed that the less intense program for a limited amount of time shows higher compliance rates. And these sessions would incorporate strength and aerobic training, and having it a bit diverse and not just all the same. With these sessions, it would be really important to modify the exercises. So if one person can't lift a certain amount or they can't stretch as far down, modifying the exercise so everyone is included, and this helps with their psychological well-being as well. From this, another point could be GPs referring people to walking fitness groups, which are held in the local area. By this, they're creating new friends, getting out in the community, and being able to be taught by a professional in the exercise field. The elderly will find this more fun and enjoyable by having the knowledgeable professional there to be helped along the way. And with the use of this, visual representations of certain exercises is key, and not overloading them with 4 or more instructions.